Hi, you're welcome back to this YouTube channel. If you're new here, you are highly welcome. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to be notified whenever I drop a new video. In this video, we will be making this beautiful pleated waist shirt dress. I'll also share tips on how to get a perfect fit for a bulging tummy. So if these are something you are interested in, do well and keep watching. So let's dive right in, and also do not touch that dial. This video contains the sewing or putting together of this beautiful gown. So if you've not watched the video where the pattern was drafted out, do not worry. I'll just drop the link to the drafted pattern on the description box. So continuing from where we stopped on the previous video, go ahead and extend your under bust line and waistline. So if you're sewing for someone with a bulging tummy, please just leave it at this under bust and waistline. I hope you do understand. Now, if you're sewing for someone with a flat tummy, from your waistline, go ahead and mark 2 inches. The reason for stopping at the waistline for a bulging tummy is because you want the shirt dress to sit perfectly on the body after pleating. But if the dress is being made for a flat tummy, you can go ahead and add 2 inches from the waistline and extend it like so on both sides. Next, I will place my tape like this from where the button plackets stop like so. You can see where I placed my tape. Then I'll go ahead and mark 3 inches, and I'll mark these 3 inches across the 3 lines like this, and I'll repeat the same thing on the other side as well. So it is from this 3 inches that my pleating is going to start from. So I'll go ahead from these 3 inches. I'll go ahead and fold in 2 inches like this. So 1 inch on the other side, 1 inch on the other side. Judging from the style inspiration, you can see we have 4 pleating at the front. That is 2 on both sides of the front pattern. So meaning we are working with 2 pleating on this side and 2 pleating on the other side. I hope you understand. So after doing this first pleating, the next thing is to take your tape and then you mark 2 inches from this your first pleating. You mark 2 inches like this. So you just mark the 2 inches across the 3 lines or the 2 lines, whichever you are using. You get, if you are using your under bust and your waist, you mark the 2 inches across the 2 lines. Then you go ahead and fold in 2 inches as well. So you can see it's very simple. So we'll repeat the same process on the other side as well. So you can see in total we have 4 pleating at the front pattern. So the simple logic to this whole thing is that each pleating carries 2 inches allowance. So that was while during drafting, since we have 2 pleatings, that is 4 inches allowance plus 2 inches for sewing allowance gave us 6 inches. So that was how we arrived at the 6 inches allowance we drafted out starting from the under bust line down. I hope you understand. So if you want an extra pleating, you add 2 inches again to that 6 inches allowance. So the more pleating you want, the more 2 inches you add to your allowance, because every pleating carries 2 inches allowance. I hope I explained this thing well enough. If you still do not understand any part, just drop your question on the comment section and I'll try as much as possible to respond to you. So I'll go ahead and fold in the 2 inches like so, and I'll use my office pin to pin it down. So you pinning it down, you're going to run a stitch on where you're pinning. That is, you just run a stitch through the dart lines or the pleating lines. So after pinning down, I'll go over to my machine and I'll stitch the dart line, stitch on the dart like this. I'll just stitch it, stitch. And this is what you should have at the front after doing that. So moving on, we'll bring in the back pattern. And I'll go ahead and also mark out the underbust line, the shoulder to the underbust line, which is 14.75 inches for me. And I'll mark 3 inches for my waistline, 3 inches from the underbust line to get my waistline, and also the 2 inches as well. I'll mark it out. So if you're sewing for a bulging tummy like I earlier stated, just only make use of the underbust and the waistline. But if you're making this outfit for a flat tummy, go ahead and mark out the 3 lines. So I'll just extend those lines across like this. I will extend it. And I'll do the same thing on the other side as well. So I just want to be certain I have 14.75 here for my underbust line. So I'll extend the lines as well. So for the back pattern, I want 5 pleating for my back pattern. If you do not want 5 pleating, if you want exactly the 4 that was at the front pattern to be on your back pattern, you go ahead and repeat exactly the same process you did on the front at the back as well. So for me, I want 5 pleating at the back pattern. So all I have to do is go ahead and fold back my fabric like this into 2 to get the midpoint or the midline, the center of the back pattern. Yes. So after folding the back pattern into 2, I'll go ahead and mark 1 inch like so from the center back. Mark 1 inch, mark 1 inch, and I'll just root the 1 inch across, and then I'll use my office pin to pin it down. So if you do not want a pleating at the center of your back, you want it to have 4 pleating like your front, like I earlier stated, go ahead and repeat the same process for the front on the back. So after this, I'll mark 2 inches space from this first pleating like this, and I'll just mark it across, so it's 2 inches space between each pleating. And I'll go ahead and also fold in 2 inches as well, and use my office pin to hold it in place. Then after doing this, I will also go ahead mark out 2 inches from this pleating. And I'll also go ahead and fold in 2 inches and use my office pin to also hold it in place. So if you don't want that center pleating, just forget about pleating that center, just leave it like that. Then you mark the 2 inches on this side, the 2 inches on the other side, so that center back will just be plain. You'll grab. But for me, I don't want it to be plain, so I want a pleating at that center back. So I'll repeat the same thing on the other side, mark 2 inches from the pleating line, and then fold in 2 inches as well. Then I'll use my office pin to also hold it in place. So if you want more pleating, add more allowance to your drafting, or add more allowance while drafting. So I'll still go ahead, mark 2 inches from this pleating, and also fold in 2 inches like so, and use my office pin to also pin it. So now that I am done, you can see I have 5 pleating. So I'm going to run a stitch through the lines, through the pleated lines or the dart lines. So this is it, guys. I have run a stitch through it, as you can see. You can see the stitches. can see the stitch. So that's just it. It's very easy. So you go ahead and iron like so. You iron it, iron like this, and you iron just to make your stitches relax, your dart lines or pleatings relax. So this is what we have for the back pattern. This is what we have at the back pattern. Next, I'll bring in my front pattern and remove the office pin that I used to hold the bottom placket temporarily. So I'm going to place it on my back pattern, making sure the right sides are facing each other, please. The right sides should be facing each other. And I'll bring in the other side of the front pattern and place it as well, like so. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch the shoulders, close down the shoulders, and also close up the sides as well. So you close up the shoulders and close up the sides. So you can either use 1 inch to close up the sides, or you can go ahead and use your measurements. Then you aim the down, that is after closing up the sides. You go ahead and aim the down like this. You run your stitch through it. So once I've done this, I'll come back and show you guys. So guys, this is it. I've closed up the shoulders. So next is to sew our sleeve. We'll go ahead and measure the round armhole on the shirt. So go ahead and measure the round armholes of the shirt. So that's what I am doing. You measure it round, and for me, after measuring round, I have 24 inches. So I'll go ahead and bring in a piece of pattern paper that I've folded into 2. For this sleeve, the length is 9 inches. And I'll be adding 1 inch for aiming allowance, so making it 10 inches that I'm marking out. Then I'll take my rule and rule a straight line across the dots like this. So after doing this, we'll go ahead and mark out the carpet line. So from the starting point like this, you mark down 4 inches. You can make use of 4.5 or also 5 inches for your carpet line, but for me, I'm making use of 4 inches. Then I'll rule a straight line across it like so, and this is my carpet line. Next, you divide what you got for that round armhole on your shirt by 2. So for me, 24 divided by 2 gives me 12, which I've gone ahead to mark out here. Then you add 1 inch for sewing allowance like so. On your sleeve length line, you divide your bicep measurement or your round sleeve measurement by 2. So for me, I have 13 divided by 2 gives me 6.5, which I've marked out. Then you add 1.5 inches for sewing allowance. 1.5 inches for sewing allowance. So you connect this to this. So I've done a detailed video before on how to draft out your sleeve, so I'll just drop the link on the description box so that you further go ahead and watch it if you do not understand this, because this is not a sleeve drafting tutorial. So I'll go ahead and find out the midpoints like this. Then I'll just draw something like an S shape. It's just like an S shape or a curve. I don't know how to describe this shape. So you draw it like this, and then you go ahead and cut this out. So your sleeve is ready, or rather my sleeve is ready. So I'm going to use this pattern now to cut out 2 of the sleeves on my fabric. So this is it. I have cut out the fabrics, and I will notch the center of the sleeves. Next is to attach the sleeve to your shirt. So for sewing the sleeve to the shirt, you bring in the sleeve and make sure the right sides are facing each other. And then the part you notch on your sleeve should be lying directly on your shoulder joining. and then you stitch it round and then close up the sides and aim the down of the sleeve as well. So this is it. I have attached my sleeves and I have closed up the side and aimed the down. So next is to determine where to place the pocket cover, and I'll use my armhole depth as my guide. So from my armhole depth, which is 8 inches, I will mark 1 inch from my armhole depth. So you can mark 2 inches from your armhole depth or 1 inch from your armhole depth measurement. It all depends on you. So for me, I'm okay with 1 inch from my armhole depth. So from your bottom placket, you mark 1.5 inches or 1 inch. That is where the pocket cover will start from. So that is just it. So you repeat the same thing on the other side. So for the pocket cover, all you have to do is to bring in a piece of the fabric and fold it into 2 like this. Then you mark out 6 inches for the width of the pocket cover. So just go ahead and mark out the 6 inches. Like so. And then for the length of the pocket cover, we'll make use of 3 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark out the 3 inches like so. And I'll go ahead and cut this out. So you are cutting out 2 of this, one on the right side, one on the left side. So you cut out 2 of this. Then next is to go ahead and stitch the 3 corners like this. So you stitch and stitch it down. So one side will be left open. So this is it, guys. I have stitch. So this is it. Then you go ahead and notch those sharp points. Just notch. And then we'll turn it over to the right side like this. You go ahead and also run a single stitch on it like this, on the 2 pocket cover. So this is it. I've run a single stitch, as you can see. So this is what I'm talking about. So next is to attach this to the shirt dress. So we'll bring back our shirt dress. So starting from this point that we've marked out, we'll go ahead and place the pocket cover like this and run a stitch through it. That place that is open that you did not stitch, that's where you are going to run a stitch through, and then you fold it over like this and run a stitch like so. So this is it. You repeat the same process on the other side as well. So this is it, guys. As you can see, I've run a stitch through it like this. You can see how beautiful it's looking. Next step is to draft and sew the collar. So you go ahead and measure around your neckline like so. So this is it, guys. You can see how it's looking. You can see the pleating. So this is what I was talking about. For a budging tummy, you just only stitch on the 2 lines. Then for the sleeve, you can see the way I joined it. So you can see the way I closed up the sides using my measurement. So I just used 1 inch for the biceps to close up the biceps. So I'll cut off this excess like so. And this is it. I hope you do understand. So I'll go ahead and measure around the neckline for my collar. So make sure you measure more than twice to be certain you have an accurate measurement. Please measure more than twice. So I have 20.5 inches. So I'll bring in my paper stay and fold it into 2. I'll go ahead and mark ½ an inch. This is me marking my starting line. So I'll go ahead and just mark ½ an inch upward like this. And then I'll rule a straight line across it like this. And this line represents my starting line. Please note that this is not a collar tutorial. For a more detailed collar tutorial, I have a video for that already. I will also drop the link on the description box, so you go ahead and watch it. and understand better the whole concept behind making a collar. Next, I'll divide what I got for the neckline by 2. So you know I got 20.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and divide 20.5 inches by 2, and I got 10.25. So I'll go ahead and mark out the 10.25 like this. So I'll mark it out. Then after doing this, I'll go ahead and mark half an inch from this my starting line on this point that I marked out. I'll mark half an inch, and then I'll find the midpoint of this 10.25 inches that I marked out. So I'll find the midpoint like so. So I'm going to blend this half an inch that I came up with back to this midpoint. So this is me drafting a standard good collar. So after this, for the collar stand, I want the length of my collar stand to be 1.25 inches. I'll go ahead and mark it out. You can make use of 1 inch. It depends on your preferences. So I'll just mark the 1.25 inches like so, as you see. As you can see, what am I saying? Then I'll just connect the dots. So for the collar stand, I want a beautiful curve here. So for the curve, I'll just come in with half an inch and then curve like this to get that beautiful curve. So after doing this, for the other part of the collar, I will come in by 1 inch like so, and then I'll go up by 2.5 inches. That is how long I want my collar to be. So I'll go up by 2.5 inches and connect like so. So I want that, slanted shape of the collar has. I'll come out by half an inch and I'll connect this back to this 1 inch I came in with. Now at this other side of the collar, I'll go up by 1.5 inches. And then I would, rule it or blend it like this. So I'll just connect like so. So there's this unique rule to making a perfect collar. Yes, so this part of the collar and your collar stand has to have a little bit of difference. So if you see, my collar stand is 1.25 inches and this part of the collar is 1.5 inches. You can see the difference is just 0.25 inches. It's very small. So that's just the rule. So whatever you are doing, just make sure the difference is very small or they are the same measurements you get. So that's just the simple rule. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out. Please watch closely the way I'm cutting it out. So this is it, guys. Go ahead and cut. So after cutting this out, I'll go ahead and iron this on the fabric and then I'll show you guys. So guys, this is it. I have ironed it on the fabric. I mistakenly tore the one I drafted out, so I have to redo it again. So that's why you're seeing this patch. So this is the way I ironed it on the fabric. I ironed the collar on this side of the fabric, and then I left half an inch on the space, and on the other side I ironed the paper stay again. So at the downside, you can see I left half an inch space all through, which I folded in and iron. Then I folded it like this and iron. So you can see I left space around it like so. Then open, I ironed on this side, ironed paper stay on this side. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and fold it back, and then I'll just go ahead and stitch on the edges. I'll just run a stitch on the edges of this paper stay. So I'll run a stitch on the edges, that is on the fabric, close, very, very close to the edges of the hair stay. I hope you do understand this. So this is it, guys. I have run the stitch through it. Don't know if you can see this. Let me bring it closer to show you guys. So you can see the stitch now. So this is what I'm talking about. So this is it. So I've run the stitch on the edges. I'll go ahead and cut off this excess, but be very careful to, you know, not get close to the stitches. Just leave as much as 0.25 inch space of fabrics around it. You can see the way I'm leaving, you know, fabrics around it. So don't just cut very, very, very close to what you stitched. I hope you don't understand. We're just trying to cut off, you know, a little bit of excess out of it, because we don't want the collar to now start feeling bulky, you know. So you can see it, guys. So I'll just go ahead and notch on the sharp corners so that the collar will be way more relaxed to ease the tension of the stitching once we turn it over to the other side. So you just go ahead and notch. So please be careful not to notch and open up the stitches, not to notch close to the stitches. Please be very, very careful. Take your time. So after doing this, we'll go ahead and turn it over to the right side like this. So turn it over. So I'll just bring in my scissors to push out these sharp corners. So if you enjoyed this video and if this video was helpful to you, do well to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So this is it, guys. Next, you just run a stitch across it like this to demarcate the collar stand from the collar. You just run a single stitch through it like this. So once I do that, I'll bring it back and show you guys. So guys, this is it. I have run my stitch through it like so. So I'll go ahead and iron. So we'll bring back the shirt dress now, and it's time to attach the collar. So for attaching the collar, you go ahead and place the collar like this, and then you stitch it from this end to the other end like so. So after stitching, you go ahead, that is after you're done stitching that part, you go ahead and then you tuck in this, you tuck in that part like so. You tuck it in like so, and you run a stitch from this end to the other end as well. And don't forget to sew your buttons on the right side of the shirt dress. So guys, this is the outcome. You can see how beautiful it is looking, and I am so loving the shirt dress. So see you on my next video. I love you. Mwah.